Welcome back to Steve Rob Reviews. Today I got quite the display going on here. It's all about screwing and how you actually apply a fastener from wood to concrete, or if you have something that you just want to fasten to a wall or on a concrete floor. Today I'm going to concentrate on a project I have going on at my camp, which is next summer's project, and it's putting pressure treated 2x4s, strapping them and gluing them to the exterior of my block wall. If you guys haven't seen my camp before and the project I did where I finished off all the front of the camp and put siding on, I'll put a link down below if you want to check that out so you have a better idea of what I'm actually talking about. But this is going to be for the end of the camp and the block wall. And I ran into some, I would say, not actually problems, but things you have to figure out yourself when you're actually doing it. And you know, I never seen a lot of YouTube videos on the problems that I ran into, but I bought some new fasteners, and these are concrete screws that go into my block wall that I'm going to use, and it's going to go through my pressure treated 2x4s. And they have a different style head. I'm going to show you all the different types of fasteners I've used in the past and why some are good, some are not so good, and the tools that you actually use to put these in with. So let's get to it right now. Okay, so what you're looking at here is just some of the tools that you actually need and some of the fasteners. I'm going to take the lid off this. Now this came in a box of 100, and it comes with the drill bit, but not the bit that you use to fasten them in with. Now this one here takes a let me just get a better shot here. Yeah, it takes a number 3 square drive, and if you take a look at this, I'll show you in the, see if I can get a better light on you here. There we go. If you take a look at this, you'll see how it, you know, there's no slack in there or anything. Now if you go with a number 2, you know what? You could see how it moves around, so you have to use the proper one in the first place. And so I'm going to try these ones out. And so you got a better idea of what's going on. I'm going to show you this 2x4 I just kind of mocked up a bit here. And here is some different fasteners. Now you could see how this one here is, it's got a square head on it. And you can use some devices that they try to sell like this, which is the Tapcon unit. And you know what? This doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. And inside here is the socket. So I'm going to get a bit here and I'll just show you. If you take a look at this, I'll put it in here, and you could see how recessed that's in there. So I mean, to me, this thing is completely useless because it doesn't fasten it in all the way. Now it's great if you want to use, you know, like one of these in the end here. And yes, they do have some that have this type of head. You know, it's a Phillips head. And of course you got to get the exact right fit. So with this kind of Tapcon tool here is good for this. But you know what? You know, for this kind of style here, like, I just don't get it. There's no way that you can possibly, you know, put that, you know, tightened right up, because there's a gap all the time and you'd have to finish it off with a second tool. So I don't really understand that. But what I use is this, and the problem that I ran into up at my camp was, of course, if it sits flush like this, you're never going to drive that into your wood before you strip out the backside. So what you have to do is you got to drill first through your wood and then butter up the backside of your wood that's going on your block wall. And in my video I do show what kind of construction adhesive I prefer. But if you try and you know, have this countersunk flush, because I'm putting paneling over this and it sits up. Now if you try to actually countersink that, forget it. There's no way that's going to go. So now you could use this style, right? Because it's similar to the new one. Like this is the new one right here. And you could see here where, yeah, I'm hoping that that will countersink nice because it's also got a tapered end on it. Now why am I not going with these Tapcons that I had before? Because of the head. There's no way that I found much success with these, because using an impact driver, and this is what I use here, my impact driver, is I found that this style of head, you really have to get a good bit in the first place or you just snap off the bits. But I found this stripped out a lot of times. So when I put this in like this, sometimes if you have to apply a lot of torque with your impact, this is 3/16, and sometimes these would just snap right off on me, you know. So I decided to go with the 1/4 inch and the square drive. So that's what I'll be trying this year. So what was I doing last year? I'll show you what I was doing last year. Is I had to actually get one of these bits and drill a countersink in here first, so that when I did use my impact driver, you know, that it would drive it all the way in and make sure that it was below the surface. So when I'm attaching my outside paneling, it wouldn't interfere. And that's a little bit of a pain because you got multiple steps. You have to drill it first, then you have to go back and drill the hole all the way through for your fastener. And I thought if I go with this style here, I could do it all in one step, and hopefully it will pull in just enough, because you could see there's not that much that you have to pull in, and it'll just go flush on me. Now you could see here, there's no way you're going to drive this in the first place, because if you take a look at any of these fasteners, I'll show you this one here. If you take a look at this here, I don't care what you stick on the end of it. Take a look here. The outside is bigger than the inside, so you ain't going to get that pushed into your stud, because the more you push, the more it's going to come out like this, and whatever you're using here has a larger circumference than the inside. So that was a failure. So you have to actually countersink these. So let's move on to the different type of fastener. So say you want to put something in the ground. This is what I like, these ones here. So you drill your hole first. You just drop these in. Of course, if it's going to go through a piece of wood or a steel frame or whatever, of course you got to drill your hole on the outside. You drop these in, and if you have to countersink them, well, yeah, you can countersink them. But most of the time when you're using these, you're actually using outside clamping force, you know, like a stand or something. And the more you tighten this down, you can see how this part right in here drives up like a wedge, and it expands. And these are terrific for holding huge amounts of force. And of course, you see a lot of people have these. These are just concrete nails. Now these ones here, you have to actually drill first. And this is the drill bit here. You have to drill first and then you drive them in. And they work good in a lot of locations too, but not for a wall where you're having studs. Take for instance, like using these. Not every stud is perfectly straight, so you have to actually pull it in. If you try to use one of these, a lot of times, yeah, you know, you're hammering and it's bouncing, and you know, it's not the best. I find these are better for that. These are probably best for like on a floor, like on a concrete floor, you know, putting something down. But tell you the truth, I haven't been using them in years. And so this is that kit, you know, from Tapcon. So you get this and you get a couple of bits, and you know, I really don't care for it that much. And so what's another fastener that you could use? And this is one that I like here as well. I use this for going into concrete, and it's light duty. And of course, when you've got something like this, you're not going to take it out so easily. Same as this. So for security purposes, like you see these on the outside of a concrete wall where you'll have, say, bars going across a window or whatever to prevent people from breaking into something. You just drill your hole first. You just slide these in. It's got, you know, a nice neck on it here. And you just use your hammer and just hammer them right in. And yeah, they stay in there pretty good. And you ain't going to get them out so easy. You pretty well have to cut them off. And they're an alternative, but they're very light duty. And this is more or less just like lead, really. Like it's pretty soft. You know, it's not really hard. Where these here, man, oh man, these are hard. You have a hard time bending these even with a hammer, hitting them in a vise. But yeah, there's different alternatives to what you want to do. And I would say most people, yeah, I just use this, you know, for driving in these with my nut driver. And you know, there's a great, you know, plus it's magnetic on the inside. And I think this is just terrific. And I usually go with screws now whenever I'm using you know, a variety of metals or woods, you know, to screw something in. And I'll tell you something, you have to be really good on the trigger, because when you have your nut driver here and you're driving it in, you're going to get some impact action. If you go a little bit too much, you'll start to spin threads here, and the hole will just wallow out on you. And you know what? You're pretty well stuck then. You have to drill another hole. So you have to be careful going in too far. And hopefully this summer, when I'll be using these ones here, and I'll be trying this out, and I'm going to get some new bits. I'm not going to use this bit here, because this here is not a very expensive bit. I'm going to use an impact bit and see if I can just have these just, you know, countersink them just enough so it pulls the board in with the adhesive on the backside, and this will be nice and flush. Well, I hope you like this little bit of a demonstration. And the screws I'll be using are 2 3/4 inches. 2x4 stud is 1.5 inches. I found that you don't have to go any more than, you know, like an inch, 1.25 inches, because guess what? The block walls, you know, they're only so thick, right? Depending on the age of the block walls. Some of them are very thin now. And I had such a problem trying to figure out what was the best spot in a block wall to actually put these fasteners in. Because if you can imagine, I've got my 2x4 stud here, and I've already got it on the wall, and I've just put with a pencil mark where my holes are going to be. And then I drill the holes out first, and then I use my rotary hammer and a bit to drill all the holes out. Well, I'll tell you something. I had quite the challenge. It was quite the challenge actually figuring out where is the best spot in a concrete block to put the fasteners. And yeah, it's a little bit of trial and error. You can watch all the YouTube videos you want on how to do something, but you have to actually get out there and try it yourself, because most times, yeah, what works for me might not work for you, you know, in your particular situation. But it was a challenging day in that video. And like I said, I'll put a link down below if you want to take a look at it, or I always put them boxes at the end of my videos for not just mine, but some of my friends' videos as well. So thanks for joining me here today, and I hope you learned something from this, because I tell you what, this is years and years and years of trial and error. So you guys come back again. If you haven't seen this channel before, well, you're welcome to subscribe. Cheers.